Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Center podcast. I'm Emiliya Zhivotovskaya, your host and founder of the Flourishing Center. We are training the change agents of the world and equipping them with research-based tools for healthy, happy, and successful living. And we're so grateful that you're here.
This episode is a Practitioner Profile, where we highlight ordinary people that are doing extraordinary things. Each practitioner is a graduate of the Certificate in Applied Positive Psychology program from the Flourishing Center. Find out the exciting ways that people are putting the science into practice in their work and how they use positive psychology in their lives with individuals, organizations, and communities to help them thrive.
Thanks for listening, and let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our Positive Psychology Practitioner Corner. I am so excited to introduce you to Abigail Sites. She is the owner and director of Abundance Academy of Dance. She's joining us from Pennsylvania, and I'm so excited for you all to learn more about how she integrates positive psychology into her dance studio. Something you might not know about Abigail is while she is the owner and director, there is a mascot for her academy. His name is Levi, the dance studio dog, and he loves bananas, snuggling with the studio dancers, and he even has his own hashtag. So hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about Levi, because I'm sure he also plays quite the role as a positive intervention in this school. And I'm so excited to have you with us, Abby. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Abigail, tell us, how did you get started in running a dance studio, recognizing that as a dance studio owner, you could have an impact on not just teaching dance, but the well-being of the people that you serve?
Well, I actually didn't quite plan on it. I ran a local community program while I was in undergrad and then also graduate school. And I was on track to be a school counselor, which I did get to do for a little bit, but I decided to merge those two worlds and open my own dance studio instead.
That's beautiful. And what brought you to positive psychology?
Oh gosh. Well, I have always been into psychology. That's what my undergraduate degree is in, but I was really feeling that my dancers needed even more. And I read Caroline Adams Miller's Getting Grit, her book, and I was so inspired. I kept diving in deeper. And then I luckily happened upon your workshop at the Good Life Project camp. And I just immediately signed up to be a capster.
It's beautiful. And tell us, what are some of the integrations that you've made since learning positive psychology into how you teach and what you offer at your studio?
Yeah, it's been really great. I've always had the inspiration to make sure that my kids are living well-rounded lives. And I think that dance has always been a huge, huge positive force in my life to learn life lessons. And since graduating from CAP, we focused first on gratitude. Our recital for our 8th year was called Grateful. We did lots of gratitude projects within the year and the theme. And it was a really beautiful experience for both the dancers, for me, and also the parents. I was very excited to see the parents really getting involved. So this year, we started with a lot of talk on growth mindset and then moved into character strengths based on the VIA character strengths. So our whole recital, our June recital, is based on the VIA character strengths.
Oh my gosh, that is just so incredible. I want to know about the ways in which all three of those things are being expressed, because I can only imagine the joy that goes into both learning these concepts, but then thinking about how they can be expressed. Can you give us some examples of some of the gratitude projects that came out of your work?
Sure, yeah. So for the gratitude projects, we actually did the daily dozen, that your work, right?
Yeah, actually, Deb Giffen, who's actually from Pennsylvania as well.
Yay.
She's a dear friend and colleague of mine. She created the Daily Dozen. Yeah, remind us, what is the Daily Dozen all about?
Oh, the Daily Dozen breaks down different ways that you can show your gratitude. And it really helps them focus in on different ways, whether they were involved in it, things that they could do, things that did happen just within the last 24 hours. And it inspired beautiful kindness projects within our studio. The kids planted flowers and gave them as thank you gifts to the other businesses in our shopping center, because we're just one big family and we're very, very supportive of each other within the shopping center. And we may have made a certain mechanic cry out of the beautiful gesture. They wrote thank you notes to go along with that. They wrote a killer thank you note to me too. It was a nice. I didn't mean for that to happen, but I enjoyed the ramifications of that. Yeah, it was really a beautiful experience. Our gratitude activities really gave a chance for the parents to get excited about us becoming the first positive psychology based dance studio.
Oh, that's amazing. So amazing. And I would love to also hear about how you're integrating growth mindset. So just to review, because some of our listeners may not be familiar with growth and fixed mindset, this is based on the work of Dr. Carol Dweck, who identified that children and adults can have different belief systems about where things come from, where behaviors originate from. And if you believe that things are fixed or static or based entirely on things like nature, you will have a different set of actions and thought patterns that come from it. So if you believe that things either are you have it or you don't, you're smart or you're not, you're a great dancer, you're a natural born dancer or you're not, you're going to hold more of a fixed mindset. And if you have a belief that, yes, people come into this world with a certain degree of capacity, but we can build that capacity, we can grow, we can change. Things aren't just black and white, either you have it or you don't. You have what we call a growth mindset. And so I'm curious how you have gone about introducing these concepts to the girls. How did they utilize these concepts? All of it. Tell me everything.
Yeah, I think that doing this work with growth mindset in the very beginning of the year was one of my favorite things. The kids absolutely latched onto it, and it was the best way to set the tone for the year. Our favorite word is yet. We love the power of yet. So explaining to them and lighting up that concept that they could do it with a little more effort, and that it wasn't determined that they couldn't do something that they were in that fixed mindset about, was really an amazing thing to watch. So now that we focused on it so much in September, anytime that comes out, we call each other out in the judger's pit, and we know to add that little powerful word of yet to make sure that we keep going. Whether it's a combination, it's been really, really powerful in our classroom.
And do any of these themes also show up in the actual performance and the actual dancing that they do?
Yes. So the way that we're incorporating our via character strengths, first, all my kids were asked to take the test, and also the parents, which has been really fun. And I made a big board for our lobby so that they can proudly claim what their number one strength is. And each routine in the recital has a corresponding character strength. So, for example, there's a beautiful song called Human by Christina Perry. And that is such a powerful song that's really teaching the lesson that we are all human. And when you are vulnerable, you can really get help and realize that you're not alone. And so the character strengths with that is honesty and kindness, because you'll see the story played out in that lyrical routine of the vulnerability, the connection, and then the kindness that is shown because of it.
That's incredible. And I would imagine that it's also such a beautiful journey for you to think about how you are choreographing these pieces and gives you an opportunity to dive deep into each character strength or to explore this within your body the way that you then translate it over to them.
Absolutely. The recital takes an immense amount of coordination, but this really lights me up. I absolutely love adding that extra layer of meaning towards every dance, even if it's playful. We're doing a medley to Annie songs, like Orphan Annie, and that is correlating with zest. So even when it's playful, it's a great way to express and really explain in the best way I can explain, since my biggest skill would be, choreography or dancing, taking these positive psychology character strengths and showing them in the best way I know how, which is dancing.
That is incredible. And I love how you've combined your skills and your strengths and your passions and your calling in how you've structured your work and the impact that you're making on other people's lives. And I'm curious, what are some of the ways that positive psychology has made a personal impact on you?
Ooh, so many ways. I really think that bringing it back to the human level has made the biggest impact on me. Really understanding that struggle, we're all trying to struggle well, and that it is really just part of the human experience to push through, be resilient, persevere, to live a full and thriving life.
That's beautiful. And as you know, and as our listeners know, we focus a lot on this idea of self-awareness and self-compassion and self-care. And so I hear there how the awareness of all the things that it means to be human, that awareness has enabled for you quite a bit of self-compassion. And I'm curious, what are some of the self-care practices that you utilize that enable you to grow and to flourish and to struggle well during those difficulties?
It's funny that you bring up self-care, because that is truly one of the biggest things I learned. In positive psychology, I would understand what to do for self-care, and I could be aware enough to understand what I was feeling. But that self-compassion piece was really, really revolutionary to me. Learning to understand I'm not alone and to cut myself some slack has been really a life changer. I love balance in dance, but I also love balance in life, and having a world outside of the dance room full of travel and friends and relaxation and nature is really crucial to me feeling my best every day.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know personally, as well as a business owner, that it can be so hard, right, to actually take the time and to separate, especially when I don't know about you, but when my work brings me so much joy and so much fulfillment, it's sometimes hard to separate it out and then to actually remember to say, I need to take the time for me and actually take the time to self-care is such an important part of it.
Absolutely.
I'm curious if you have any thoughts around how people might approach integrating more of the principles that you're bringing to people through Abundance Academy of Dance, which I just love the name, into their life if they don't live in Pennsylvania. How might they begin to utilize movement and positive psychology together?
I would say that for me, I have just intrinsically loved dance. But taking that passion, I'm sure that if you intrinsically loved horseback riding, you could also take the very best things that you are passionate about, take things that light you up in positive psychology, and see where they intersect, and really learn to thrive from the combination.
Awesome. And any other tips or concepts that you've learned in positive psychology that you wish, if I could just give people this one bit of knowledge and have them really embody it, what would you want more people to know?
I would love for people to just understand positive psychology a little bit more, since the word positive leads them to thinking it's only about being happy, but it's really about living a full life. And I think exploring what might interest them the most within positive psychology would be the best. It's so jam-packed with information. It's really quite amazing that to explore it more till you find what interests you most.
Thank you so much for highlighting that. I know that this is something that even the founder of the field, Martin Seligman, talks about all the time, is that he kind of wishes he hadn't called it positive psychology because people confuse it with positive thinking. And as you mentioned, there are so many facets of what positive psychology focuses on, which is really about well-being and resilience and giving people that permission to be human by understanding what are our tendencies as humans and what are we more prone to and what pushes our buttons and why, and how to help us get those human needs met in today's crazy world.
Absolutely.
Abigail, tell us, where else can people find out more about the types of stuff that you are up to at Abundance?
Sure. Well, our website is just abundanceacademyofdance.com. We are on Facebook under the same name and on Instagram under Abundance AD.
And what about Levi's hashtag? Because I'm sure people might want to see positive psychology in action through that wonderful pup.
His hashtag is Levi the Dance Studio Dog, and he actually just turned 10 and celebrated his birthday with his dancers last month. So you'll see his candle lit in his birthday banana.
That is amazing. Abigail, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
This Practitioner Profile episode is brought to you by the Certificate in Applied Positive Psychology program, the world's fastest growing practitioner training with over 15 programs running every year in 5 cities and online internationally. Discover how you too can turn your passion for well-being, science, and helping others into a career where you help people thrive. Learn more about how you can become a certified positive psychology practitioner at getcertifiedinpp.com.
Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. I want to encourage you to tell us, what would you love to hear more about? Is there an area of positive psychology you would love to get some more information on in terms of the research? Give us a shout out at info@theflourishingcenter.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you a wonderful flourishing day.